Hi and welcome my ninth graders. In today's lesson I want to review and go over exercises that you have completed. I want to give you the correct answers, go over each grammatical forms we have in these exercises. So we will be working in our student book, the Action Pack student book, page 19. And we will work in our activity book, pages 10, 11, and 12. Please follow along, and so you can have a better idea and have the correct answers for these activities. Let's begin. Here we have the language development part, which says complete the passage with the relative pronouns who, that, which, whose, and where. Let's remember, so I made previous video about the relative pronouns. If you forgot it or you need to refresh your memory, please go back to the video. But to recap it quickly, يعني أحكي عنه بسرعة, so we can complete this exercise. A relative pronoun is used after a noun to make it clear which person or thing we are talking about. We have who, whom, whose, which, that, where, and why. So why do we use these relative pronouns? Again, we use these relative pronouns after a noun, and the reason why we use them is to make it clear which person or thing we are talking about. So you're going to ask me, which relative pronoun must we use? When do we use it? So, number one, for people, we use who, that, whose, and whom. Remember, relative pronoun whom is common in formal styles. Yani when we want to write a formal style sentence, we use whom. Number two, for objects, we use which, that, and whose. For objects نستعمل which, that, we use which, that, and whose. For places, time, and reasons, we use where, when, why, and that. Again, for people, we use who, that, whose, and whom. Remember, whom is in formal style sentences. For objects, we use which, that, and whose, and for places, time, and reasons, we use where, when, and why. Now, so we have in the company, blank, I work, we all know the rules that we have to follow. So here we have بالفراغ بعد الاسم مكان, which is company. Company means شركة. متابع يعني مباشر بفعل I وفعل work. So we بنختار where. Because we have I work, we use the relative pronoun where. Our manager is very strict with us. يعني المدير تبعنا كتير شديد معنا. He is the one blank organizes the work among us. He is the one who organizes the work among us. So why do we use who? القوانين لاسم غير فاعل نختار that. So القوانين لاسم غير فاعل we use that. الفراغ المسابق بفاعل he is the one نختار who. Because we're talking about a person, so we must use the relative pronoun who. The dress code, blank, each one of us has to follow makes all the employees look neat and professional. The dress code which each one of us has to follow makes the employees look neat and professional. هلا we said بالفراغ بعد اسم غير فاعل يعني the dress code اللي هو المعيار اللبس or اللبس اللي كله لازم يلبسوا نفس الاشي بعد الفاصلة وبنختار which. So we must choose the relative pronoun which. The next sentence is the manager warns any employee whose attitude is negative toward their colleagues. يعني المدير بيعمل حظر لأي employee اللي عنده يعني إيجابية، اللي بيكون إيجابية اتجاه colleagues التانيين اللي بيشتغلوا معاه بنفس الشركة. So we have we said the dress code, الفراغ المحصور بين قوسين which is employee أو attitude بنختار whose because we're talking about employee and we're talking about attitude اللي هي كيف الإنسان بيعبر. We use بنختار whose. Now exercise 2 I do not want. Going down to exercise 3, choose a word or a name for each of the following items. يعني عنا 3 جمل, you put it in a better sentence. The most beautiful place that you have visited in Jordan. I wrote, أنا كتبت, Petra is the most beautiful place that I have visited in Jordan. The second one is someone who is as close to you as your family. Someone who is as close to you as your family. I put, my father is the person I trust most. My father is the person I trust most. The third one is something that is more important to you than anything else in the world. يعني إيش أهم إشي بالدنيا لإلك. I put my family are the most important to me than anything else in the world. That's pretty easy, this exercise. 4, I do not want. 5, let's go down to 5. The phrases in column B are clues that help you guess the word in column A. يعني في عنا definition وفي عنا بدنا نعرف definition بدنا نعرف كلمة للدefinition. So we have 1, a piece of clothing. A piece of clothing and it's usually loose. حكينا tunic. These are our vocabulary words. We have already studied them. We have already written them in our notebook. So we should already know what they are, what they mean. Number 2, worn every day, not formal type. إشي بنلبسه كل يوم ومش كتير رسمي, it's casual. Number 3, a set of rules relating to behavior. يعني قوانين بتعتمد على behavior. I'm not sure in Arabic what that is, but the word is ethics. Ethics. Number 4, relating to rules, another word for to follow. يعني كمان نفس الإشي نتبع على قوانين, it's to abide. Abide. Number 5, related to paper or cloth. Another word for to cover. And the definition for the word for this definition is wrap. Moving along to our next page. In your activity book, now we're moving along to our activity book. Activity book, page 10. Here we have the first section, which is vocabulary, and the vocabulary wants us to use the words from the box to fill in the table below. So we have words in the box, and we must put them in either an occasion or type of clothes. So إيش يعني, what does occasion mean? Occasion means مناسبة, and type of clothes means أنواع ملابس المناسبة. أنواع ملابس مناسبة. We have, let me read them for you. We have comfortable, we have formal, we have casual, we have trendy, smart, and fashionable. So comfortable, where is it going to go? Underneath occasion يعني مناسبة, أو تحت type of clothes أنواع ملابس. Comfortable طبعا نعرف إيش يعني comfortable. Comfortable means إشي مريح, أواعي مريحة, so we put it underneath type of clothes. Formal, also type of clothes, لأنه formal means رسمي, أواعي رسمي. We have casual. Casual also means type of clothes. Casual يعني لبس نلبسه يعني كل يوم, مش رسمي. Trendy. Trendy also is a type of clothes. Trendy يعني in fashion. يعني إيش الموضة means trendy. Smart is a type of clothes. يعني if you have a meeting, a interview, we usually can say we need to dress smart, sophisticated, serious about where we're going. So smart goes under type of clothes. Fashionable. Fashionable كمان also على الموضة. It's also a type of clothes. And we have dinner with friends is occasion, مناسبة, and business interview is مناسبة. Now, going down to exercise number 2. Exercise number 2, بدهم use the words in exercise 1 to write your own sentences. يعني منا نكتب جمل من عنا نستعمل الكلمات بexercise 1. يعني نستعمل comfortable, formal, casual. نكتبهم بجمل من عنا. يعني maybe اختار 3 أو 4 من التمارين الفوق ونستخدمهم بجملة من عندك أو من عندك. So we have comfortable. حكينا comfortable إنه كتير مريح. I wrote casual clothes are comfortable. Casual clothes are comfortable. Number 2, we have formal. I wrote you should wear formal clothes for a job interview. يعني لازم نلبس أواعي رسمية إلى مقابلة لشغل. Number 3, they have given us casual. Casual يعني also is in the in the category of comfortable. I wrote we should wear casual clothes to the picnic. يعني منيح إنه نلبس أواعي مريحة يوم ما نروح على picnic. Not sure what picnic is in Arabic. هيك نطلع طلعة ناخد أكل معنا, I guess. Number 4 is trendy. Trendy, I wrote young men and women tend to wear trendy clothes. يعني الشباب والشابات بيحبوا إنه يلبسوا الكلوز اللي على الموضة. Number 5, they have given us smart. I wrote we must not only wear but act smart. مش بس إنه نلبس بس also نتعامل أو نتفاعل in a smart way. And the last one is fashionable. حكينا fashionable also يعني on style, إيش الموضة, إيش آخر موضة. I wrote actors are always fashionable. يعني اللي بيمثلوا دايما على الموضة. Okay, moving along to exercise number 3, which is also relative pronouns, which I explained a little bit ago. Circle the correct relative pronoun. Circle the correct relative pronoun يعني ضع دائرة حوالين الاسم الموصول الصحيح. ضع دائرة حوالين الاسم الموصول الصحيح. The correct relative pronoun. We have the man, which the man, the young man whose briefcase is gray is the new employee. The young man whose briefcase is gray is the new employee. Now هلا why did we use whose in this sentence? إذا الفراغ بين اسمين مثل man, briefcase نختار whose. Because عندنا man and we have a briefcase, so that's a person, and we have a thing, we use we have to لازم نختار whose, like I said in the beginning. ليش which one كل واحدة وين نستعملها. So that's why we used whose in that sentence. Number 2, the charity shop where I sold some of my clothes donated them to the poor. Again, the charity shop where I sold some of my clothes donated them to the poor. ليش اخترنا, why did we choose where? إذا وقع بين الأسماء مثل shop والفعل أو الفعل مثل sold I نختار where للأماكن يعني because we have shop and we have sold we are choosing نختار relative pronoun where اللي هو للأماكن والفعل مثل man يعني رجل نختار who okay who which is for number 3. Number 3, my grandfather is the man who is wearing a tob in the photo. Okay, my grandfather is the man who is wearing a tob in the photo. Why did we choose who؟ لأنه للعاقل مثل man يعني رجل بنختار who. للعاقل مثل man ونختار who. Number 4, in charity shops you can buy accessories that are quite cheap. يعني بالأماكن اللي الناس بتبرعوا منها أشياء مستعملة ممكن إنه نلاقي accessories يعني jewelry يعني سلسال حلق سوارة purse دبوس ممكن إنه نلاقيهم بسعر أقل من ما نروح على مكان على محل معروف أو محل designer. So why did we use ليش استعملنا why did we use that and why did we use that so المجال يعني يوم يكون في whose يعني الفراغ غير محصور بين الاسمين so الفراغ غير محصور بين اسمين نختار that okay so we choose the relative pronoun that. So again we have الفراغ غير محصور بين اسمين we choose نختار the relative pronoun that. Number 5, the Jordanian traditional custom the Jordanian traditional costume which is still worn by many people today is sold in this shop. Again the Jordanian traditional costume يعني اللبس التراثي الأردني لبس الأردني التراثي which is still worn by many people اللي لسه كتير من الأشخاص بيلبسوا اليوم بنباع في هذا الشعب. So why did we choose which? We chose which لأنه الغير عاقل مثل costume يعني costume يعني الزي يعني مثل مثلا التوب توب النساء أو العباية أو توب الرجل نختار which. Okay again لغير العاقل مثل costume نختار which. So that's that for the relative pronouns. If you have any confusion or you have any doubt, please go back to my relative pronoun video again so you are comfortable using the relative pronouns which, whose, where, that, why. Now let's move along to page 11. Page 11 here we have comparison. Complete the table with the correct form of the comparatives and the superlative. I also made comparative and superlative video. If you want to refresh your memory, please go back to that video. But now I will go over these exercises to make sure you have the correct answers. Why? To make sure you have the correct answers. So let's begin. So we have adjectives, and you know, adjectives. هلا now أكمل الجدول. بدنا نكمل الجدول بصفات المقارنة. So إحنا حكينا that comparative and superlative هم صفات مقارنة. Comparative اللي هو صفات التفضيل. Okay, صفات التفضيل, and the superlative اللي هي الصحيحية. So الادجectives اللي هي ايش يعني adjectives بالعربي؟ الصفة. comparative يعني مقارنة بين طرفين فقط. So comparative, we are comparing two things only. So الcomparative مقارنة بين طرفين فقط only. Superlative is تفضيل بين أكتر من طرفين. يعني مثلا we have 3 people عنا 3 وانت بتفضلي واحد من الثلاثة أو شخص من الثلاثة أو إشي من الثلاثة. So comparative مقارنة بين طرفين فقط. Comparative only between 2 people or 2 items or 2 things only. And superlative تفضيل بين أكتر من طرفين. So it's more than 2. So adjectives we said is صفة. We have صفة bright. To compare it, we say brighter. For the superlative, we say the brightest. Big. Adjective big becomes bigger for the comparative and becomes the biggest for the superlative. Trendy becomes trendier. We removed the Y and we added IER. Do not forget this part right here. And for the superlative, it became the trendiest. We removed the Y, إمنا the Y, and we added IEST. Next, we have practical. Practical for the adjective, صفة practical, becomes more practical for the comparative because we cannot say practicalist, practicaler, no. So we say more practical. And for the superlative, it becomes the most practical. The most practical. For the adjective careful becomes more careful. And for the superlative, it becomes the most careful. The most careful. Fashionable becomes more fashionable. And for the superlative, it becomes the most fashionable. Good, adjective good, صفة good becomes better for the comparative. And for the superlative, it becomes the best. Adjective bad becomes worse. And for the superlative, it becomes the worst. Okay. Moving along to exercise 5. Exercise 5, بدهم منا write the definition of the words in the box using relative pronouns. So, we have words in the box and we must use one of the relative pronouns in the sentence to make a complete sentence. I have written some sentences here for you. I know you have completed this and returned it to me. But we're just reviewing and going over it, going over the correct answers for everyone because our exams are coming up. And I want to make sure everyone's on the correct page, following along. So the first sentence that I wrote for fashion, they have already written a sentence for us. A fashion designer is a person who designs clothes. يعني fashion designer يعني اللي بتصمم أزياء هي الشخص اللي بتصمم أواعي. We have clock. A clock is a device that measures time. So here استعملت clock واستعملت relative pronoun that. That بيعرفنا عن الكلوك إيش الكلوك بتسوي. So a clock is a device that measures time. يعني الساعة هي آلة بتحكي لنا إيش الساعة. الساعة لاحظ هي الجهاز الذي يقيس الوقت. Okay? So الساعة هي جهاز يقيس الوقت لنا. The next sentence, an umbrella is an object that protects from rain and sun. An umbrella is an object that protects us from rain and sun. الشمسية هي الشيء الذي يحمينا من المطر أو الشمس. You know, أحيانا, not always, but sometimes. So we used umbrella and we used the relative pronoun that in this sentence. Next sentence. A hero is a person who is admired for his courage and achievements. here البطل هو الشخص الذي يحترم نحترمه لشجاعته أو الإنجازات الوصفية يعني فيه. So here we used hero and we used the relative pronoun who. Who is relating to a person, which is the hero. Our next sentence is, a doctor is a person that cures and gives medical advice to the ill people. يعني بالعربي الطبيب هو الشخص الذي يعالج أو يعطي نصائح طبية للمرضى للمريضين من الناس يعني الناس المريضة. So here we used doctor and we used that. That is referring to a person. My next sentence is, a fish is an animal with gills that lives in water. يعني السمكة هي الحيوان الذي إلها إيش اسمه خياشم I think خياشم, I'm not sure in Arabic, وبتعيش في الماء. Okay, so don't mind me, I'm not sure what gills is in Arabic, but we used here we used fish and we used that. That is relating to the gills of the fish. يعني عم نحكي عن الجills تبعون السمكة. My next sentence is, a kufaya is a traditional headdress that people wear. الكفاية هي اللبس الرأس الذي يلبسها الناس بيلبسوها الناس. So we used kufaya and we used that in this sentence. My next sentence is, an archaeologist is someone who studies ancient societies. Ancient societies. We used archaeologist and we used who is relating to the archaeologist. يعني عالم الآثار هو الشخص الذي يدرس أشياء القديمة. So that's that for exercise 5. And you can have written different sentences, not the same ones. مش ضروري إنه تكتبوا نفس الجمل. These are just sentences that I have written that are correct. Moving along to our second section, which is the grammar part, and this is very important. Here we have joined the sentences with the relative pronoun in brackets. We're also talking about relative pronouns, and we said اللي هم الأسماء الموصولة يعني اللي بتعرفنا على people, places, and things. بتعرفنا, that gives us more information about people, places, and things. So ما كتبت كل جملة, but I wrote where we should write the relative pronoun, وين نحطها. So number A, this is a book that I read last week. This is a book that I read last week. This is a book that I read last week. We need to remove it. So بنشطب it and بنشطب ال full stop in the middle. So it becomes, this is the book. This is the book that I read last week, full stop. Number B. Number B says, there were 3 people in the car, full stop, and then they wore the same uniform. كيف نجمعهم هدول to make one sentence using a relative pronoun? It becomes, there were 3 people in the car who wore the same uniform. So استعملنا relative pronoun who وجمعنا the 2 sentences وعملناها لone. So منقيم full stop بعد car, and then we add who, ومنقيم we do not need they because احنا عارفين عن we know who we're talking about, عارفين عن مين بنحكي. So بنشطب they and we just write wore the same uniform, full stop. Number C. Jordan is a country full stop. هم كاتبين full stop. We spent our holidays in Jordan last year. هون في كتير جمل في يعني ممكن نعمل هدول الجملتين إلا جملة واحدة وهم عايدين جوردن كتير مرات. So بدنا نقيم جوردن ومنا نجمعهم لجملة واحدة by using where. So it becomes Jordan is a country where we spent our holiday last year. Jordan is a country. Jordan is a country where we spent our holiday last year. Now, moving along to our next sentence. Malak is my friend. They have a full stop. حاطين نقطة. Malak's sister won the national spelling competition. So if you realize يعني مش حلو إنه نحكي Malak is my friend. Malak is the sister who won the national spelling competition. That's too many Malak in one and يعني قريب على بعض. So we want to use the relative pronoun whose ونجمع هدول الجملتين نعملهم جملة واحدة. So we write Malak is my friend whose sister won the national spelling competition. نحط whose مكان الفول stop ومنقيم ملك's ومنخليها Malak is my friend whose sister won the national spelling competition full stop. E. He invented a pen. هم حاطين full stop. Then حاطين جملة تانية. The pen can translate the word it writes. كتير في جمل ممكن نجمعهم لجملة واحدة. So we need to use the relative pronoun that. It becomes he invented a pen that can translate the word it writes. He invented a pen that can translate the words it writes. So إمنا full stop وحطينا that وإمنا the وإمنا pen وخلينا he invented a pen that can translate the words it writes. يعني we made جملتين هدول في كتير معلومات فيهم وإحنا عارفين عن إيش بنحكي. So جمعناهم إلى جملة بسيطة short جملة واضحة وبسيطة using the relative pronoun that. F. F says Samir's car broke down again. Samir's car is new. هون عنا كتير سامر وعنا كتير جمل. So ممكن إنه نحطهم بجملة واحدة. Okay? So it becomes using the relative pronoun which. Samir's car, comma, which is new, comma, broke down again. Full stop. So جمعناهم Samir's car, comma, which is new, comma, broke down again. So استعملنا, we added the two sentences into one using the relative pronoun which. It's much simpler and easier to read. That's that for this second section. I hope you got a better understanding. Please write in the correct answers if you have any mistakes. Now moving along to page 12. Page 12, here we have complete the statements and questions with the correct relative pronouns. Again, we're doing more relative pronouns. Number one, and where you're going to use who, whose, which, or that. Number one, this is the office where my father works. This is the office where my father works. So now, why did we use where? يعني here من في التدريب هذا من القواعد نختار الأسماء الموصولة المناسبة. So we need the right relative pronoun عشان نكمل الجملة. We used where in sentence 1 بعد الفراغ المباشرة بالفاعل أو الفعل. Okay. Parents are نختار where. So يعني because we're talking about people, father, we are using where. Number 2, do you know any blank parents are teachers? Do you know any Do you know any? Do you know anyone whose parents are teachers? Do you know anyone whose parents are teachers? So why do we use whose? ليش اخترنا whose? إذا حصل الفراغ بين اسمين anyone أو parents نختار whose. يعني we have بالجملة هاي we have anyone and we have parents, so لازم نختار whose. Number 3 says Burj Khalifa is the skyscraper which took 5 years to build. يعني هم عم بيحكوا عن برج خليفة يعني أطول بناية وأخذت 5 سنين عشان يبنوها. ليش استعملنا which? Why did we use it? لأنه بعد الفراغ مباشرا في عنا الفعل فقط took يعني وقبله غير عاقل نختار which. again بعد الفراغ مباشرا بالفعل فقط took وقبله غير عاقل نختار which. Number 4, I met someone who used to work here. I met someone who used to work here. ليش اخترنا who? Why do we use who? لأنه someone أحد يعني someone means أحدهم I believe which is العاقل. So للعاقل نختار who. We use العاقل نختار who. Next sentence is number 5. Is there somewhere near here where I can buy a newspaper? يعني في مكان حوالين هون وين أنا ممكن أشتري newspaper. ليش اخترنا where? Because بعد الفراغ مباشرا بالفاعل والفعل can و I نختار where. Again بعد الفراغ مباشرا اللي هو الفاعل والفعل I can نختار where. Number 6. He lives in a block of flats which has its own tennis courts. ليش كتبنا which؟ لأنه بعد الفراغ مباشرا فاعل فقط has وقبله غير عاقل نختار which. Again, they're very similar in sentences. Now going down to exercise 3. Use 6 of these adjectives from the box below to make comparisons between 2 places, people, or things by writing complete questions. Then ask your partner to answer them. يعني we want to choose a word, 5, 6, as many, or you can use all of them and make them into a question, but using comparison. We want to compare 2 things, comparative or superlative. So here I have written, which animal is smaller, a dog or an elephant? Which animal is smaller, a dog or an elephant? And then your partner, you can answer. Of course, a dog is smaller than the elephant. Another sentence I wrote, which is healthier, milk or ice cream? Which is healthier, milk or ice cream? We all know milk, of course, is healthier. Another sentence I wrote, which sport is more interesting? يعني أنو أفضل sport, basketball or football? And then you can answer. You can say basketball is more interesting. Another sentence I wrote, who is better in cooking? You or your sister? Who is better in cooking? You or your sister. So we're comparing from 2 people. Inti أو أختك. Another sentence I wrote is, which dress is cheaper? أنو فستان أرخص? A dress made of silk or cotton. فستان مصنوع من الحرير أو من القطن. And then you can answer it. Silk, a cotton dress is cheaper than a silk dress. نعرف إنه فستان القطن طبعا أرخص من الفستان الحرير. That's that for exercise 3. We're just doing comparison between 2 things or 3 things. exercise number 4 says describe these people using the relative pronoun. Again, كمان مرة بنستعمل relative pronoun. We're doing a lot of relative pronoun because we are having relative pronoun in our exam, first month exam. So please pay attention. Go back to my relative pronoun video. Go back to the correct answers in these exercises that I have just completed. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. So here we want to compare, from the pictures, بنقارن who and whose, comparative and superlative. ممكن إنه نقارن بين 2 شخصين أو 3. Let me read some of the sentences that I have written for you. Sentence number 1 says, the girl whose hair is tied is happier than the girl than the girl with loose hair. So قارنت بين 2 واستعملت whose, and I used the relative pronoun whose. So حكيت البنت اللي شعرها مربوط شكلها مبسوطة أكتر من شعرها النازل. The second sentence that I wrote, the young man who wears a shirt is younger than the man with a hat. يعني الزلمة اللابس قميص هو شكله أصغر من الزلمة اللابس طاقية. I compared between 2 and I used the relative pronoun who بجملة. انتبهوا. The next sentence that I wrote for you, the man that is wearing a hat is fatter than the old man. يعني الزلمة اللابس طاقية هو أنصح شوي من الزلمة شكله هيك شوي عجوز. So we're comparing between 2 واستعملت relative pronoun that. And finally, my last sentence that I have written for you is the man that is wearing a suit is younger than the man with a mustache. يعني الزلمة اللي لابس suit شكله أصغر من الزلمة اللي عنده mustache اللي هو in Arabic I believe شوارب. I believe, not sure. Okay, so we compared between 2 or 3 and we used one of the relative pronouns. That's that for these exercises. I hope you got a better understanding. Please go back to my relative pronoun video and my comparative and superlative video. If you have any doubt that you are not understanding, go back to my videos. I hope you got a better understanding. Good luck, and until our next lesson.